Hello, and welcome to the 40th episode of the But I'm Knitting podcast. My name is Ramona. I'm a knitter from Toronto, and welcome to my corner of the crafting world. You can find me on Ravelry as Mona Lee 81. You can also find me on not Ravelry, I just said that, Instagram and Twitter as Rome_Raven. So that's it for the introductions. Well, for the first time ever, you might see me sipping it. I'm actually drinking something during the podcast other than water. I made hot chocolate. The mug I wanted to use was currently being used, so I had to just use a plain old Tim Hortons one. Yeah. Still too hot for me to drink. I'm a wuss when it comes to this kind of heat. So, let's see. I actually wrote on a list to try and keep myself focused for this week's episode, except for the fact that I had planned to cast on something new and I didn't, so I just spent like 5 minutes before looking at my list like, new cast on? What cast? I don't remember casting on anything new. Only to realize I didn't take my grandfather's measurements, so I was not able to start the sweater just yet. I have the yarn still waiting there and waiting to go though otherwise. So let's get on with my works in progress. So I have 3 works in progress and 1 finished objects. I have stash enhancement and I guess a little bit of an extra as to the meeting from last week. So let's get this thing started. So, first thing, socks. The fox socks. I actually pulled it out and started working on it. So, as a reminder, this was the first sock. I finished this off quite some time ago. The progress keeper just showed me where I started the heel, because I did it this one toe up. So, the second sock, I'm actually in the middle of doing the heel. Yay! Progress has been made. I haven't looked at it recently to see how much of the fox was used, but let me see. Ooh, we're almost up to the neck. So this is the one that I'm using. It's a sock blank from Andre Sue Knits that I got last year. And yeah, I've been working on it and loving my progress on it. So I've been using, the needles I'm using are Addi Sock Rockets in a size 0 US or 2.0 millimeter. Circular, I don't remember the length, but it works fine for what I'm doing right now. So that's project number 1, work in progress. Ooh, forgot to put that back. Actually, I did a good amount of it. Let's see, between a few days. I cast it on, I think, on Thursday? Yeah, Thursday. I just managed to do the toe for it, which went okay, considering I didn't have any kind of internet access where I was, and I don't really do toe-up cast on, so I had to, in a sense, try and jog my memory to get it done, and I successfully did it. I went to a recital on, music recital on, I might as well just do this while I'm doing it. I went to a music recital on Friday, and if you looked up on my Instagram, you could actually see the progress that I made, which was pretty much from the toe up to where this black stitch marker was. I did like pretty much all of that in the recital, because I don't think I really worked on it. No, I may have gone a little bit lower, but I got a good amount of it done while sitting at the recital listening to some excellent music being played by children, and yeah, by children and a few adults. And then afterwards, I did most of the work otherwise yesterday while watching Black Lightning episode 2. Still love that show. It is great. And somebody told me that Cress Williams was on the show Heart of Dixie. When they said that, I remembered. The only problem is I had no interest in the show Heart of Dixie, so I never really watched it, even though he was in it. So, yeah. So let's move on to the other time. So, got that part done. So my next project, I will show you my Find Your Fade. I'm actually really pleased with the progress for this one. Last night at the knitting circle, I managed to get to my 4th color, or start my 4th color. So, is this the front of it? I'm trying to remember. Yes, this is the front of it that you get to see. So, here it is so far. So, somebody called it a tie yesterday when they saw it. So, I just started. I just did 1 row of the next color. I'm starting to think it might be a little bit too harsh of a difference between the two of them. But considering what I did with down here, I think I'll live with it. It's okay. I'm not going to go back and tink it out and go look for my yarn. Nah. So the color that I'm currently on is color number 4. It's called, it's from Wilmy's Twin, and it's called AL13 or 13AL. I never remember which one it is. So, just started that. That's progress. and I will continue with that at some point. I continue this week. Yeah, between this and the sock are probably my only things that I'm going to work on during the week. Although I do have some, since I do have time this week, I am planning to, no, I'm not going to promise anything. You'll just have to see next week if it gets done. I hate disappointing myself. So my last whip for this week is my Doodler shawl. I kind of lucked out with extra time this week. I woke up on Sunday morning getting ready to go to work and realized my body was just like, nope, you're not going anywhere. So I pretty much spent the entire day in bed, which was ideal because it was Sunday, and I pretty much pulled out my Doodler shawl and I worked on it. So here is what I have so far. It's much bigger than it was last week. Hold on. Is this the right side? Yeah. So this is as far as I've made so far. I can't really hold it out completely, but see, it kind of looks like a big butterfly wing. I'm on wedge 11. I think, how many wedges are there in total before I start the next section? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So I got another 6 wedges to go. But yeah, I am really liking the way this is turning out. I think the colors I picked for it were really, really good. This actually just reminded me, oh no, because it doesn't really apply, but of course I've been feeling the hankering to dye, but I haven't done it. So, but right now, actually currently while I'm recording this, I have 2 skeins soaking in water, getting ready to be dyed tonight. Not tonight, after this podcast. I'm not waiting that long. It's only almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So the needles that I'm using for these are Knitter's Pride circular. I'm knitting everything flat, but this is a 4 US or 6mm, I think is what it works out to be. Works great for shawls. Kind of does that scraping sound thing that I don't really like, but that's dealing with wood, but I can live with it. The same thing happens with my Leaky needles. That's what I was using for the Find Your Fade, because it does the same thing. I'm kind of worried that I'm like rubbing off the varnish on the wood. I'm not sure, but we'll have to see. So that is it for my works in progress. So let's go to my FOs. So last week was a Knitters Guild meeting for the month of January, and of course, like everybody there, you need a project to work on while you're there. So I decided, okay, I'm actually going to pull out this sock and I'm just going to work on it and see how far I get. You want to know something? I finished some socks. So I had, which sock? This was the one that I had finished before. This was the one that I finished almost. I finished this on Thursday. So where you see the macaroon stitch marker, that's where I was at the beginning of the guild meeting, and I pretty much just finished the rest of it and just left the toe to be done on I left the toe to be done when I got back home. So while listening to the conversations and talking with people, buying stuff, listening to the topic, I got all of this done and I'm very happy with that. So this one is done. There's no specific box to go into it. My box of socks from last year is still sitting down there. The only reason I haven't done anything with it and put it with the rest of my socks is because I need to weave in the ends and wash them. So I've determined I'm not going to be putting them away until I do that. So they can just stay inside the box until that gets done. So, woohoo! Another pair of socks. Done. And hopefully by next week I'll have, oh, still, don't make any promises. I'll have progress on my other pair of socks, my Fox socks, but no guarantee that I'll get them done in time. So, the only thing about these that I would change is I would have probably picked a different color for the contrasting. Because when I looked at it in the ball, I thought the pinks were close together, and they're not. But you know what? It makes my socks unique. I kind of like it still. So, my FO. Let's see, what else is there? I guess it's on to go on to my stash enhancement. I made a promise from the beginning of 2018 that I was not going to buy any more sock yarn. I went to my first Knitters meeting and I was like, why did I make this promise to myself? But I stuck to it. I did not buy any more sock yarn. I didn't even buy fingering weight yarn. I ended up buying worsted. The dyer behind the yarn, she helped me make my decision since I said no sock yarn. She found showed me where the worsted was, and it's beautiful. So, Feisty Fibers is the name of the dyer behind these yarns. She was actually at the wrong thing. She was at the Toronto, the Knitters Guild, meaning, selling her yarn. She's from North Bay. I don't think, did I take it up? And the store that actually came down, that she just came along with the store owner, is called Sticks and Stones. So, if you can get to see that, can you see that? Yeah. So, that's the store that was there. So, Feisty Fibers, I cannot remember her name, honestly. I followed her on Instagram because I like the stuff that she made. So, put that there. So the first thing I got was this worsted skein called Lemongrass Sass. I love the logo. I think this is so cute. But it's called Lemongrass Sass. It's a worsted weight, 100% superwash merino. And actually it says hand dyed in Toronto. So actually maybe she's not. Actually, I'm not even sure. Maybe the store owner is from North Bay, and maybe she's not. I'm not quite sure. So I got this one, and my other skein that I got is Don't Be a Hater. It's the same worsted weight, same base. And I realized afterwards together they look like Christmas. That was not my intention. I just looked at the burgundy and I thought that this was a beautiful, beautiful color. I don't know if you can, it's a beautiful color. And I saw the electric green, which almost matches my walls. And I said, it's my favorite color. I can't leave it behind. So I'm still debating as to what I can make with those, but let me just show you off the last thing that I got. I'm going to take this out of the bag because previous experience showed me that my computer does not like shiny things like plastic bags. So this is from Howling Hill Studio, made by Heather Sampson. So that's her business card. And I got my Progress Keeper right here. I don't know if you can read it, but it says, do what you love and love what you do. When I saw this, I'm like, I knew I had to go home with this. So I got myself a new Progress Keeper that's going to go inside my bin to be used. Now, on to the whole thing with what to do with this yarn. One of my goals for this year is to learn how to brioche, and brioche properly, and actually finish a brioche project. Specifically, the Half Moon Oracle by Kristen Lear. So that's my thing. It's either, yeah, that's what I want to do, because I looked at that shawl and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. So I don't know why, I was just looking, once I got this yarn, I was looking for a worsted weight project that was not just a basic stockinette hat. I ended up finding something, and while I was doing this whole talking for the past 15 minutes, my thing decided to lock itself. Hold on. So the hat that I found was the brioche basic beanie. And let's see, I don't know how well it's going to show. I may just have to put up the picture myself. Can you see it? So that's the hat. It's by Marilyn Blacketer. While I do like it, and I think it would be great, I don't want my hat to look like Christmas. So I had to find something else to do with it. So I was looking through my worsted weight stash, and for some reason, some of my stuff I can't find. I have a little bit that's real wool, because I used it to make my, what's it called, hat? My bobble hat. So I know I have some somewhere in this house. I just can't seem to find it. But one of the ones that I did find, I got this from one of my friends at my knitting circle, was this. It's a very soft, like a sage green, and maybe the two of them might go good together. I think that they could work. They're like different enough, but they're still in the same color family, and I think it would go together quite nicely. So there's that as the option. I don't want to put it with red, but depending as to what I can find within the next week-ish, then I'll see if I can cast it on and learn how to brioche, so that I am ready to do a brioche project that I actually want to do. So I think a hat would be perfect practice for that. It's not too complicated. It shouldn't take up as much time as it is to do like an entire shawl or something like that. So we'll see. So these have a good chance of being what it is. This one, actually upside down. This one is Rowan Pure Wash Wool Worsted. It's super wash. The color, is there a color on it? I'm not even certain. It could be 00130. That doesn't sound very fancy, but still. So that's probably what I'm going to be using for that. I think that is everything. Oh, but while I was looking for my my wool worsted, I ended up finding my acrylic worsted stash. Didn't even remember I had that. There was a hat I was supposed to make that I ended up not doing. Eek. Don't let that fall. So I guess now we can go on to the extras from the meeting, which was primarily a talk given by Eric from Sticks Plus Twine and Rib Magazine. It was about knitting for men, not men specifically knitting, because he was quite aware that majority of the people who are part of the guild and most knitters, from what we know, are women, and they're the ones who mostly knit for men. But there are a bunch of men who knit for themselves. So, but he tried to cater it to all of the people who were going. So he was talking about the important factors to think about when you're making a sweater, which to me seems like it's very much, it's stuff that I would pay attention to as well. Um, Primarily for myself, although I would allow myself a little bit more liberty in comparison. So he's like, things that you need to think about is he going to wear it? So that goes into, I guess, the style of the sweater. The color, is he going to like the color? The fit that you do for it. And the options that are around for it, because there's not many options as much for men's sweaters. Like for women's, honestly, you can do pretty much anything and you're good to go. Try making a lacy sweater for a man that would actually wear it. Probably is not going to happen. Those people are very few and far between. But like, the color choices. Most guys prefer the more neutral palette tones, the blues, the grays, the brown. Not really too many of them together at one time, things like that. But that's generally like how it is for me. I'm a much more, unless my shirt has a logo of like a superhero on it, most of my outfits are pretty plain to begin with. I'm starting to make exceptions for clothes that I wear to church, without complaining. Because while I do, like for myself, while I do like dresses, I prefer them more on the plainer side than other people would like for themselves. So they're talking about the fit of the stuff. Like, do they need it tight? Do they need it baggy? That would also depend on to the type of yarn that you use for them. Like, because there's the really chunky, there's a really fine. But if it's a really fine, that means you're going to be knitting for a long time. And do you really love that much to knit for that long, like on a fingering weight sweater? He even made a reference to the what's it called? The boyfriend sweater curse, which is basically you don't knit a sweater for your boyfriend because you will end up breaking up with the boyfriend before you end up finishing the sweater. Um, so I've heard that before and I thought it was pretty funny. But the thing is, if I'm not even going to knit a sweater for myself, I'm not going to knit a sweater for a boyfriend either. So right now, the only people in my life who I'm contemplating doing sweaters for are my own family members, and we'll leave it at that. So yeah, you also have to take into account for sweaters, like, the yardage, how much yarn is it going to take? Because in general, men's sweaters take more. Um, Things like that. It was actually a really interesting talk. He made me want to go and actually get a couple of issues of Rib magazines, because some of the pictures that he used were from his own issues from his magazine, and it had the pictures. I looked at the pictures and they're beautiful. So I am probably going to go on a hunt to see if I can track down a couple of the magazines. He said the first one is like next to impossible to find. The second one you might be able to find it, but it's going to be hard. But you should be able to get the third one. He suggested trying the Purple Pearl down in Toronto. I haven't done that. I haven't gone there in a long time. It's been a good few years, so maybe I will try that again. Uh, we'll have to see when. We'll have to see when. Maybe Thursday, maybe early next week. I haven't quite decided, so I'll have to see. So I'm looking forward to getting a chance to really get to flip through his magazine and see. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm like looking around me like I always do at the end of these things. Yeah, I'm actually up at like 20 minutes. So I think that's going to be it for today. I've done quite a bit. My plan for today, I actually did more stuff than I planned to do for today. I got up this morning. I watched my Boruto episode. I always watch it Wednesday morning because that's when it comes out. I cooked food, so I have enough chicken to last me for like the next week. Um, Used up a little bit of ginger, cooked up some stuff so I get to get some food for the rest of the week. So I don't really have to worry about cooking and stuff. I just stuff to go with chicken. So that's good. I have my yarns soaking and getting ready to dye. I'm probably going to knit a bit, and I think that is pretty much all I really want to do for the day. I'm going to sit down and relax. Um, I'm finished classes for the rest of this week, and then next week is when my new term starts. So I'm gonna put my feet up and relax. I didn't even get scheduled to work for like the rest of this week, so it's gonna be good. And so far, my phone hasn't rung with them asking me to come in for a shift, so we'll have to see. So that is going to be it for today. Thank you for watching, and I hope you watch again next week. I don't ever make this plea, but I do hear a lot of people saying, if you want to subscribe, go ahead and subscribe. I try to do a new episode every week. I'm generally successful with that. So that way you'll get notifications if I post a new episode, all right? So thank you and bye.